erase it, baby, stay with me. I love it. Love game, intuition, play the cards with spades to start. And after he's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on his heart. Oh, 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 oh. I'll get him hard, show him what I got. Oh, 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 oh. I'll get him hard, show him what I got.
Okay guys, it's day one on the Germany trip, and a big shout out to Golby Watches for sponsoring this. Basically, I'm about to head out into Berlin. I was out last night, and Berlin is a lively city. Met some very interesting people in a couple of bars, and basically the city is full of watch places. It's full of watch outlets, and it's full of resellers, people who are authorized dealers, not authorized dealers. I've seen the window of the Lange Sohne already. We're going to get some really good footage. We have got a really good location. We're right in the middle of Charlottenberg here, which is complete contrast to when I went to Dresden and I was out in the middle of nowhere. This time, right in the middle of everything. So I'll post up some details about where this location is, because actually it's a pretty good value, decent hotel in a good location. And if anybody's looking at visiting and wanting to sort of come up over here and see the watch places, this is a pretty good place to be. So day one, I was really finding my feet, and in the morning I decided to hit some boutiques. I was staying in Charlottenberg, which is a district of West Berlin, and it's a really great place to be. There are numerous boutiques in the area, and the nightlife is not a problem, depending on what your definition of a problem is. Anyway, I started out at Chopard, and I'm not going to spend a great deal of time talking about them in this video, because actually they were very friendly and helpful, but just not awesome. I'm going to do a separate video actually about the boutique experience and the inconsistency between the boutique product that is so important now to the watch industry. And we'll talk about my thoughts on that in much greater depth there. I think there is an irony that in watches where precision and, you know, two products being absolutely identical is so important, that boutique experience is a little bit hit and miss in terms of consistency, even within the same brand. After Chopard, I hit Montblanc. Now, Montblanc is a brand that I've slept on a bit, because I honestly just saw them as Montblanc, the pen company, and I was unsure about them breaking into watches and being a credible watch company. If you go to Montblanc Berlin, you should speak to the wonderful Anastasia, who is just lovely, and she will take the greatest care of you. She made me drinks, she showed me any watches that I liked. I had a wonderful time. I saw their Iced Sea Zero Oxygen Deep 4810, which is a dive watch with deep sea credentials, offering 4,810 meters of water resistance. It has a titanium case, it's COSC certified, automatic movement, MSRP £7,800, has a stunning dial and an amazing case rear. It's on a rubber strap with the Montblanc clasp. Very, very nice watch. But all of these Montblanc watches do show heavy depreciation in the secondary market. So unless you really want that boutique experience specifically, the secondary market probably should be of greater interest to you. And additionally, I would probably say my observation of the Montblanc boutique experience is that it is mixed between leather goods, pens, all these different things that Montblanc do. And as a consequence of that, the watches are only part of that experience. I've seen a 2025 version of this watch on Chrono24 with box and papers for about £3,715. So that's a bit of a blow if you've just paid £7,800. I also saw this watch, which is the 1858 Geosphere Zero Oxygen Mount Vision Limited Edition. And this one is £8,000. Again, titanium case with a world timer complication that is beautifully presented with northern and southern hemisphere globes on the dial. The loom on this watch is very special. It's also shot through the flanks of the case in a marbling effect that depicts the peak of Mount Vision. This is a really lovely touch. The loom really pops. And this again is on a rubber strap with a Montblanc clasp. The case rear has an incredible laser etched effect that shows the northern lights. It's an incredible case rear by any standards. And again, sadly, this piece will depreciate heavily, and you can find recent examples with box and papers for less than £5,000 in the secondary market. The final piece that I want to highlight from Montblanc is the Star Legacy Nicolas Rousseck chronograph. This is a stunning chrono with Cloud de Paris guilloche dial, presented on a classic leather strap with the Montblanc clasp in stainless steel. The case rear has an exhibition window to show the twin barrel movement with 40 jewels. The R200 is a genuine in-house movement that gives 72 hours of power reserve. The details on the watch are endless. The interior of the strap has a map of Paris from 1821 imprinted upon it. It's a little bit thick at 15 millimeters, but absolutely gorgeous. And all three of these Montblanc watches scream quality. This chrono is £7,200. And again, you can find it for as little as £3,200 in the secondary market, though. Montblanc have convinced me. They're a manufacturer of gorgeous, high-quality watches, but the depreciation is a huge consideration, unless you're thinking about keeping it for life. I rate this boutique experience very highly. Anastasia is incredible in the Berlin boutique, so obliging, wonderful at her job. The boutique itself is really lovely, but it really helps if you're a pen enthusiast, and if you are, then that place is going to be heaven for you. The next boutique that I visited was Lange Sohne. And this was always going to be a really important part of the trip for me, and I wasn't disappointed. In fact, this was the best boutique experience I've ever had overall anywhere. The guys in Lange in Berlin are incredibly warm and friendly. I was immediately offered a drink and given a seat, and they brought any and all of the watches out to me to demonstrate a huge amount of knowledge and a real passion for their brand and for watches overall. I handled two versions of the Zeitwerk, a watch that I've seen and handled before at Lange Sohne in Paris. I thought the Zeitwerk was incredible. I tried on the standard Zeitwerk and the Zeitwerk Date, both in pink gold.
72 hours of power reserve from the L043.8 caliber movement, which via the exhibition case rear is quite simply a piece of mechanical art. But I saw a variety of configurations. I saw the 1815 as well, and I handled the Lange one. The Saxonia Thin in 750 white gold has a dial that resembles the sky at night, dotted with stars, and an infinite amount of depth. Hand wound movement with 72 hours of power reserve, just 6.2 millimeters encased. Okay, I just want to break into this video right in the middle here to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of all of my content that's coming out of Berlin. Golby Watches very kindly sponsored this trip for me and made it possible for me to head out to Berlin to get all this content and make this stuff happen and produce the stuff that I want to do. They also make fantastic watches themselves, British designed watches that come out of the Midlands. And you should head over to golbywatches.co.uk to check out what they've got to offer. I spent quite a while with a Lange Sohne in the most unhurried way. I enjoyed it tremendously. The boutique resembles a very classy wine or cocktail bar. They use it for events with clients, and there's a great combination of it being a rarefied experience, but also welcoming and not at all intimidating. They really couldn't do enough for me. I really wanted this to be a great experience, and it was such a huge relief to be able to come away recommending that to everyone who visits Berlin. It's a must visit. A Lange Sohne, you've got to go there, even if, like the rest of us, you simply cannot afford one. From a Lange Sohne, I travelled out to Juwelier Brose on Breitstrasse. Now, this is in Spandau, and you get there by taking the underground on the U7. It will take you about 30 minutes to get out there if you've been in that kind of boutique district of Berlin. But I swear it's worth it. It's worth it twice over. Spandau itself is, as a part of town, it's unremarkable, but Brose is what makes this special. They are an authorized dealer, full of enthusiasm, carrying a huge range of German-made watches, tremendous levels of knowledge. They've been in business 135 years. I met with Alexander, and he was superb. I saw so many watches here that I'm going to dedicate a full video to just that experience. So I'm not going to get into all of the details here, but catch my next video about Juwelier Brose in Spandau. If you go to Berlin and you don't visit Brose, you're cheating yourself. Don't miss out on that. Okay, that night I went back to the Hat Bar, a live jazz venue in Charlottenberg, with the best bar staff and the friendliest clientele. The music is very cool. The atmosphere is wonderful. I had a very heavy night that involved beer, rum, whiskey and vodka. If you should encounter these two people, proceed with extreme caution. It really didn't help that Mike and I went to the same university, and once we'd established that coincidence, I quickly realised it was going to be a heavy night indeed.
Okay, guys, Berlin definitely is different. Wow. I went out last night and met these absolute wild hooligans. Ended up doing loads of shots of different things, and now I have to live with the consequences. Holy heck. Do recommend Berlin. It'd be great fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I gotta get something for this headache first, though. But Berlin's a lot of fun at night time, guys. Anyway, I'll see you in a bit.
So day 2 began recovering from night 1. Heavy rain made browsing between stores much more difficult, and if you're travelling to Berlin in the autumn, be prepared for such eventualities. The climate is pretty light. It was never cold. I didn't even wear a jacket, but you know, there is that likelihood that you're going to get caught in some pretty heavy rain. Day 2 included a visit to Hublot out of curiosity, to see how it would stack up against that exceptional visit that I had in Hublot in Toronto. And if you want to catch that, I'll put a link above on one side of the screen or the other, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do that separate comparative boutique video, so I won't get into it here. This being said, Hublot Berlin is not Hublot Toronto. And the outstanding experience that I had with Jonathan over in Toronto wasn't quite replicated by the friendly, enthusiastic, but slightly less polished team here in Berlin. They didn't have the same depth of knowledge, and although long-serving, they didn't seem to be quite as energized. I continued on to Breitling, and this really does underline the difference in boutique consistency for me. I've been in multiple Breitling boutiques from Norwich, Toronto, London, and now Berlin. Berlin as a location and layout is one of the best overall boutiques I've been in. From the cool Triumph motorcycle to the wine bar aesthetic, the pool table, it's got so much space, and you can see how they use it as an event space. I was handled by Suleiman, who is a giant Berliner with Turkish heritage, who was attentive, helpful, was never overwhelming or overbearing. He brought me a drink. We looked at watches together. We talked about watches more broadly, and I never felt under any pressure. This is an outstanding place to buy a Breitling, leagues ahead of any other Breitling outlet that I've been in. Day 3, I took in both Checkpoint Charlie and the Brandenburg Gate. These are stark reminders of the changes that have passed through Berlin in such a relatively short period of time. Absolutely devastated by the war, rebuilt from the rubble after 1945, divided by the Cold War, and terrorized by a dividing wall and the sinister experiences of East versus West. It's hard to imagine that less than 40 years ago, you could get shot for trying to cross the street in the wrong part of town. My memory of the Berlin Wall coming down is pretty clear. I was 11 years old at the time, but I had no appreciation at that age for what the significance of that wall was. If you visit Berlin for the watches, do take the time to absorb some of this history too. 80 years after the Second World War, Germany is now a vibrant, modern, multicultural experience, and it's a complete rejuvenation. Near to the Brandenburg Gate, you'll find Juwelier Lich im Hotel Adlon. The Adlon is a very upmarket hotel with a Michelin star restaurant. Rooms begin at about 350 euros per night and top out at around 19,000 euros for the royal suite that overlooks the Brandenburg Gate. Within this hotel is a top of the order AD selling watches from Omega, but perhaps more interestingly, Moritz Grossmann. quite simply, the Moritz Grossmann watches that were shown to me were the most intricate, ornate, and beautiful watches that I have ever handled. And this was by some distance. For €64,000, you can buy either of these incredible watches, no waiting lists, and that's about £56,000. Yeah, it's a huge sum of money. It is. But in watch terms, it's not intergalactic. I mean, at the end of the day, when you start looking at things that people are paying more than 100,000 for, it's difficult to really understand them taking something over this. It's really... Moritz Grossmann is a part of the Lange Sohne family tree in a way, because it comes out of Glashütte. Moritz Grossmann was born in 1826. He trained in Dresden in 1842, set up his atelier in Glashütte in 1854. The Institute of Watchmaking that he set up is now the National Watchmaking Museum for Germany, and I've shown you that in my previous Glashütte video. Today, Moritz Grossmann are making some of the most incredible watches by hand that you can find anywhere in the world. And to give you an idea of how much detail and skill and artisanship there are in these watches, the hands are manually crafted. All of the etching is done by hand. The tremblage dial, this textured presentation of gold, is entirely made by hand. Thanks to the wonderful people at Juwelier Lich, I have 2 Moritz Grossmann brochures with full colour imagery and illustration of all the watches, and I'll be giving them away. We'll come up with a competition. Just put some comments below if you'd be interested in winning these. And this really rounded off my short trip to Berlin, and I was sad to leave. It was a really fantastic experience.
I'm honestly going to be really sad to leave Berlin. This place is amazing. Honestly, I've had such a good time. On my way back to the airport now, this place has blown me away.
Berlin has kind of supplanted, I think, Paris as my favourite European city. Now, the remarkably friendly, wonderful people that I met on the way definitely helped the experience. But the range of watches, you know, for a watch enthusiast, is very, very difficult to beat. And I wholly recommend that you take some time to go out to Berlin and see what you can find out there for yourself. Okay, so that's the trip, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed being on that. There's going to be other content that comes out in more detail. For example, the video on Brose, the video comparing boutiques. So catch up with all of that and stay with me. If you haven't clicked subscribe, hit the subscribe button to stay in touch with all of that stuff that's coming out. Please give the video a like. It helps so much because it puts this video in front of other watch nerds. I'll be back soon with some more content, and I'm really grateful for you watching this. Check out some of my previous stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, guys.